Good day. Today we're going to be building a macro keyboard. Today we will be using the Arduino MKR0 and it will work with other Arduino boards. But today we're going to be going ahead and building this board just because I wanted a macro keyboard and I really didn't want to pay a lot for one. I honestly would love an expensive macro keyboard, but you know what? It's not needed when you can just make your own. So with that being said, let's go ahead and have a look at what we're going to be doing with this circuit. Alright, so let's have a look here. So it's not that big of a setup here. We have our 10K ohm resistors and we have our little push buttons here. So these are not going to be the final push buttons. I just built this for testing purposes. And all we're going to do is wire it all up to the maker, 0. And after that, of course, we're going to test it, which I've already done. So I'm kind of going to fast forward through that. We're not going to be dealing with that because I've already done that. I've tested this. It's working just the way I want it. So let's go ahead and have a closer look at the actual diagram in Fritzing. So as you can see here, we have our setup done here. Now, like I said, there's not much to this. We can definitely do quite a bit with what we have here. We do have a lot of open spaces left on the board, which eventually I would like to add a screen or something like that to this project. But I wanted to keep it simple just because I wanted to be able to use it for doing my editing and being able to use it as a macro keyboard on the Raspberry Pi when I'm editing videos in that, or using OBS Studio or Streamlabs. I want to be able to control things a lot more smoothly, so that way I'm not constantly having to jump to my keyboard and mouse to change the scenes and things like that. This is the quick and easy setup of this guy here. I will have all this stuff available to you. And so you'll just be able to get this all from my GitHub page. It's going to be in the description below. Now, when it comes to the PCB, that's right, we're going to actually get this printed. I designed it as a bigger, not too big, but not too small kind of layout. I do believe it's it's about 3.5 inches wide and about 3.25 inches in depth. And then, yeah, it's just going to be a small PCB, but it'll be big enough that we can have some buttons, we can make a little cool case for it, we can have all sorts of fun. So this is what I wanted to make, and basically if you look right over here, I have this laid out so that way the USB port is going to be coming off the right hand side of the board when it's printed. So that way I'm able to actually build a case where I can have that kind of hanging out that area, and it's not going to be a routing nightmare for me. So this is version 1 of this. I'm definitely going to be revisiting this in the future. Like I said, I do want to have more things added onto this to make my life a little bit easier. That way I know exactly what my last button was pressed, what button is engaged when it comes to my editing and other software that I'll be using this with. So let's just jump over quickly and have a quick look at our code here. Is this the right one? Let's have a look at this one here. There we go. Okay, so I had the wrong one up here. So this is the one that we will be doing. And we're going to be, this will all be edited to work with the keyboard but I do have a 4x display to be added to it just for testing. I tested it out. It works good, but I want to be able to come back to that and visit that a little bit later. So we don't need this one up here. This was an attempt before just to see if I could get that to work properly. So when it comes to the keys, we are basically going to be stating how many buttons there are. So this here, I'm going to do it up to 9, and then my key press button keys will go up to, we will be using the F13 to the F whatever keys that we want to use. Now we are limited on that, but we want to make sure that because I'm only doing a 10 button controller, I will only need a few of those further buttons there. And basically all we're going to do is upload our sketch to our Arduino, make sure that's working, tinker around with it, play with it, make sure the delay rates, and that our computers are actually going to pick it up. Now I've already gotten the code. I'm missing the finished code file here by the looks of it, but I do have my final code already installed on the Arduino that's there already, and I do have it, I do believe, flashed for 10 buttons. I do believe I have it flashed for 10 button configuration. Basically what we're going to be doing is on the actual board here I only have 9 buttons, but I could have squeaked in another 10th button, but I only wanted to try with 9 just to make sure this was all working. I know that it works, so the next thing we want to do is we want to get that board printed, and then we'll go ahead and get that soldered up and get everything to where we can just plug in our Maker 0 to any computer and be able to configure those buttons. There is one thing I do believe we have to do to the board, because we want to use it in DFU mode, and basically what that's going to do is not recognize it as an actual Arduino board, but as a secondary computer, like a secondary keyboard. So, and that's where we're going to get those functions from, because it's going to be programmed to have those F13 and higher keys put into it. So we'll be able to do that. So what I'm going to do is I will show you the actual board here that we're going to be installing this stuff on, and then we'll go over and get it all installed. So I'll just move that out of the way, and just so happens I do have a finished board here. So this is the Maker 0 board, Maker Macro version 1.0. I completely did it with fritzing. I got it printed at JLC PCB, and it's great. The quality looks good. I have everything routed and made just from a Raspberry Pi. So you can do a lot of things with a Raspberry Pi. Creating your own custom boards, not a problem. Like I said, for the fritzing, unfortunately, on a Windows PC is a paid version, but it is free on a Raspberry Pi. The only thing that the Raspberry Pi lacks that the PC version is the updates. They come a little bit quicker to the Windows, and you have to actually do a lot more when it comes to the Raspberry Pi if you need to import different things to be able to add components and stuff like that. You have to download ones that users have made to be able to do that. So this is the unit here. As you can see, I got my buttons all along, as well as my resistors will go here. and then I'll put some standoffs on here for now. I'm not going to directly solder the Maker Zero to the board, and then we will have our USB connection out the side here. One thing I did do though, just to start, I did try to make a little base case for it. So I made this little case for it, but unfortunately I kind of messed up on my holes here. So this here is actually the inner diameter of that guy. So I should have actually done the diameter of one of these and then spread it out, 1 or 2 millimeters out to give it the plate, and then be able to screw in to them to hold that down. I did a ridge design here so that way we can make a kind of a snap case once it's all together. I do have some work to do on it, but this is the fun part about making things, is you just make it, and if it doesn't work, you make it again. Yeah, you can see that I made them just that size of the hole here. So I need to redo my print here, and then once I get my buttons and everything on here, then I'll go ahead and design the top part of my case. So this is a great way to start to build your own projects, is starting with something like the Raspberry Pi, and then getting to use the software in it. You could make things other than, for the Arduino, you could go with, something that I did a while ago here now, and I made these custom Raspberry Pi hats for LEDs. So as you can see here, this one here I kind of messed up because I didn't have the holes drilled out for the standoffs, which is quite alright, but I did make 2 of these ones. I made one with the one LED here, and then I made one here with 2, 4, 6, 8 LEDs here. And basically this was a fun project, just to get my feet wet with designing things in fritzing and building a Raspberry Pi hat that would fit. I did learn a lot when it comes to making the hats for the Raspberry Pi and other components. I did make other custom boards prior to this, but nothing specifically for the Raspberry Pi. Basically, I want to redesign the case here, just a few little things, the standoffs in it, just to prevent, I want to be able to have a nice platform for it and have it raised up off the desk a bit. I could make it a little bit more slanted so I get a little bit more ergonomic slant to it there, so that way it's a little nicer to press, but I'm not too sure as of yet what I'll do with the case. I'm not too worried about that. So now that we have our PCB completed, done, JLC PCB did a wonderful job on these boards. I'm quite impressed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to my other bench, and we're going to go ahead and get the buttons and the resistors and the standoff here installed, and we'll go ahead and get this tested out. Alright, so for this we are going to be soldering this guy up here. I'm just going to grab my helping hand here, my Panavice, and then we'll get everything placed. So I've got my Panavice here, and I just want to use this because I love this thing. Alright, let's see if it'll actually go wide enough. Maybe. Maybe not. No, we might not be able to use it. Nope. Alright. We'll have to use it a different way. Okay, so I've got my vise all set up here, and we're going to get ready to solder this stuff in. So what we need here is I bought one of these little kits with some nice tactile switches in it, and basically all we're going to do is we're going to use our 10K ohm resistors, and we're going to put them in first, and then we'll do the switches. So what I'm going to do is actually recycle the ones from the breadboard and put them into this and use them that way. That way I know exactly how many I have laying around. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. Okay. So we've got our original board here, our demo, our breadboard anyways. And it's going to be nice because I needed a breadboard for another project. So I'm going to go ahead and be able to use that coming up here soon. So all I'm going to do is I'm pulling out each of my resistors here, and then I'm just going to feed them through the holes here, and then I'm just going to bend the legs a bit so it doesn't pop out. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that on all of these, and then we will go ahead and seat our switches into their appropriate spots here. So try to make this somewhat look pretty, but I'm not too worried if it doesn't look pretty. That's a good thing about making things on your own accord. You don't really have to worry about pleasing other people. This is just a fun project that I wanted to kind of get out of the way because I wanted to be able to use this. And I think I first started making this, and I got this printed the day after I made it. It's now June, and I've had this sitting here since, well, probably early March. I think it only took like a week or two to get all my boards from JLC PCB. So it didn't take me long to acquire all my boards and then just have them sit there and not do anything because I had so much else on the go. So now I can actually take the time and get this one done because I have another project that I need to finish up as well. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to get this one done, and then you'll probably see either next week or even tomorrow, the next day after I release this video, that one as well, just because I think it's a cool little project. And yeah, well, stay tuned for that one, and you guys can check it out. So I did have this set for 9 buttons on the breadboard, so I do have to add one more resistor from, remove one resistor from my kit here, but that is a small price to pay. I like to be able to use up what I can when I do my prototyping. That way I don't have a whole bin full of random things, and at least for the prototyping part of this. And that's what this is, just having fun and using what's available to me and making it cost efficient. And really, I got my boards printed on JLC PCB with one of their deals there. So it's not like it took me a long time to, it didn't cost me that much. If I was to get someone else to do all this, it would have cost me more. So being able to just quickly do something up like this and have it sent to you, and then you can put it together yourself, is a pretty satisfying feeling. And just seeing it all come together. Now, this is something back in the early 90s when I first got into electronics a lot more heavily, taking things apart, repairing them. I would have loved to be able to do, making my own custom boards. I loved making custom things. So now I've got my resistors all in place here. I'm going to flip the board and then just get those all soldered in, and then we'll adjust. So I'm just going to loosen this up a little bit. Come on. And then we can get our standoff, not our standoff, our adapters for the actual Arduino to sit in. And from there, then we'll be able to get that board in. So I'm doing it this way. I'm not going to solder it directly to the board, just because I might want to use that Arduino in another project at some point. I tend to do that. So you never know. Maybe one day I'll buy an actual nice macro keyboard or something. I'm not opposed to it. I just prefer, if I can make something, why not make it, right? So I'm just going to get my soldering iron going here. Let's get that going, power on. And then we'll go ahead and get these in, and then we'll just double check that they are all flush on the other side. And then we'll go ahead and get them all nipped off, and then get the buttons actually installed and soldered in. And then yeah, our adapter, or why can't I can't think of the name right now. It's just totally slipped my mind. But we'll get that all dealt with here. So I'm just clean my. So I'm just gonna go ahead. So by no means am I an expert at soldering or doing this stuff. This is just my fun little projects that I like to share with you guys. And if you guys can learn something from it, then great. And if not, at least hopefully you find it somewhat entertaining. That being said, if you do have any ideas for any episodes, please let me know in the comments section below. I'm always willing to try to make something. I do have a lot of things that I am going to be building and making in the next little while here. So stay tuned for a lot of cool projects coming up. And a lot of them will be community requested projects as well. So there's going to be something for everyone. Hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Okay, I think we got them all. And I'm just going to double check the other side now. And we'll go ahead and see if we can just nip those guys off. So, to me, it looks pretty good. Everything looks good there. I'm not seeing anything that needs to be addressed yet. So we're going to go ahead and nip those off and put those in our little bin for later. I always collect the ends of these guys because you never know when you will need them for extra wire or a jumper. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these all taken care of. So if anyone has made any projects in fritzing on the Raspberry Pi, let me know in the comments below there. I'd like to send me a email or something like that, and I'd definitely like to check out your projects. I know I'm not going too elaborate when it comes to fritzing or my circuit design. It's pretty simple projects, and there's a reason for that. I am always learning, and I just like to keep things simple and get it to where it is what I need, and then carry on from there. If you want to see some amazing other projects, definitely they are out there. I know a ton of good guys on element14.com that have mind-blowing projects that you guys should probably check out as well. I definitely love the fact that we can all make so much more and be able to fabricate things in our own homes now, from having 3D printers to CNC machines and things like that, right? We have a lot more options of what we can do when it comes to building everything from enclosures to printing circuit boards to, you know, everything. It's just a great thing. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to flip this over. I'm just going to do it this way. Actually, you know what? Let's just go like this. We're going to flip this way. And I'll have to flip it one more time in a moment here, but that's absolutely fine. And there we go. All right. All right. So, I don't know how well you can see that, but now all we have to do is basically just install our buttons in there, get them soldered, and then our pins for our board to connect to. So all I'm going to do is just insert what did I do here? Which way did I do these? Okay. So as you can see, the profile on these ones are a little bit higher, and that's just because I did want to have actual buttons on here that I could have stand off a little bit higher, right? So that way it can go into a case a lot nicer. So I did notice some of these resistors. I could have done a little bit better of a job, but I'm okay with it for now. Later on, I might just redo another board and have this one on another machine. But we'll see. So all I'm doing is just getting these guys in there right now. 6. Okay. We'll go ahead and get these guys in. So yeah, all the files will be on GitHub there, just in case you want to play with the sketch or try different things as well. Then feel free to come up with something on your own. Definitely try, whatever with it. If you want to see my fritzing sketch, that's going to be there too. And you can kind of see how I did things there and pick it apart and play around with it. So there we go. All our buttons are in now. So I'm going to go ahead, turn it over, solder that all up, and then we're going to go ahead and get, actually, you know what, we can actually install that now. So, okay, so I'm not sure where they went, but I did have like a ton of these guys. And you know what? I cannot find any of them for the life of me. All I can find is the male to male ones, not the male to females. I have to have them somewhere though. Well, I'm not too sure where it went, so what we're going to do is we're going to directly solder the Maker 0 onto the board, which is fine because I don't mind. I can always desolder it afterwards. So I'm just going to go ahead, disconnect it completely from the board here, and then we'll get this installed on that board. Alright, so there we go. We've got our Maker 0 board here. So what I'm going to do is, this is the first time me actually trying to see if this will fit in here, and hopefully it does. So that side goes in nicely. There we go. Okay, so we got that down. Basically all I'm going to do is raise it up a little bit and solder it in. It would be probably absolutely fine if I just soldered it flat to the board, but I'm not really wanting to do that. So that's what it will look like when we're done here. I could have moved that standoff hole just a little bit. It looks like it'll be a little bit tight there. I don't know if you can see that or not. So up here you can see it's going to be just a little tight to the board, which is fine, but that's the joys of learning, is trying it. If something's not right, do a revision of it, come up with something else. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this guy out now. We're going to flip it over and get those buttons and everything soldered in. So, you know what? I think what we'll do is we will actually, you know what? Let's just do that. I'm going to solder the Maker 0 directly to the board. I'm not going to leave much of a gap, and I'm going to see how that looks when I'm done here, and hopefully everything works still. But so right now all I'm doing is just making sure all my tactile switches are in the right position, and then I'm just gonna flip this around here, and then I'll just put this in here somewhere and then tighten that down. And then, as you can see, all I did was I just bent the legs out a bit, and basically everything on the board is actually sticking through. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to solder all this up, and then we'll go ahead and try it out. No, I am not the best solderer around, that's for sure. I haven't had an issue with my soldering yet, so it works. My last soldering machine, my soldering iron itself decided to fall apart on me, but it had been used for almost 10 years, so I just need a replacement for on it, but the machine itself still works great, so I'll keep that. I did get this new soldering station here. This is supposed to have suction on it, but I removed that from the wand here, and I want to build a little overhead fume extractor for the unit here, so that way I can just kind of maneuver like a snake arm kind of thing over top of what I'm working on. And plus, when I'm doing filming like this, the vacuum can get a little noisy. But I basically bought it because the new one here, just because it had the desoldering iron on it. So that's another reason why I'm not too worried if we end up having to solder this on to the board here. It's not a huge deal. You can always remove it later. We can always solder new ends on it. I will have to definitely order a few more things and make sure my supplies are stocked up here, because I'm going to need them coming up as well on another project. So that's why I didn't use the ones that I had there, because I want to make sure for that one I had enough. Pretty sure I did that one already, but it doesn't hurt to do it again. So now all I'm going to do is go down each row on here and basically get it all soldered in. Okay, so now we're going to go down the next row here. Alright, there we go. So we got that all soldered up here. I'm just going to go ahead and check my connections there. And see if anything needs to be checked over here. And then if it doesn't, we will go ahead and okay, so that all looks good. All my tactile switches look like they're soldered in correctly there. Okay, I'm happy with that. So there we go. There's the board there. We'll go over to the other bench here in a moment. All I'm going to do is just get these cleaned up here, and then we will hop over to the other computer here and give this a go. Alrighty, so here we go. We have our board all soldered in, and all we need to do now is put some caps on our switches for so all I want to do here is just add some caps onto my tactile switches there. But other than that, everything is soldered in. It doesn't look, you know, 100% Pro Star. I could go ahead and take some alcohol and get that all cleaned up, but that's fine. For right now, for testing purposes, which I want to do here, the only thing I noticed is because I didn't end up having another connector under there, now my board is down lower, so it actually makes the next part of my redesign a thing, and that's just I will be adding a cutout here, so that way we can actually get the USB cord into the case instead of having to do another hole. So that looks pretty good there. I'm happy with this. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the switches on. For now, do we stick with the blue theme? Let's just stick with the blue theme here. I've got some switches here. That looks alright. We'll just do that for now. I'll put those on those buttons there. That's great. That looks good. And like I said, we do have a lot of board left to use here. That, like I said, we can add that, you know, an LCD screen to tell us exactly what we're doing, what our previous key presses were, all that kind of stuff. We do have a micro SD card slot on here as well, so we could come up with some sort of logging system, or have predefined shortcut keys done for each program logged on there, so we could pull up the profile. And we could use even one of the buttons on here to cycle between, instead of the F13 to F23 or whatever it is, that our whatever it is, we could have one of these buttons being a different function instead. So to cycle through more buttons, we would be able to press one button to be able to use our 9 macro keys, and then having our one button set to be able to make it, 18, 36, and more, just based on that, and have predefined scripts on the micro SD card as well. So there's a lot of room that we can actually grow on this project and be able to do. So I thought, why not? This would be a fun project to do. As you can see, those switches, they do stick up nicely there. So I'd be able to make a nice flush mounting plate for on top there. But now that I have this guy on here, like I said, I will have to redesign because of that micro USB port there. So for now, it's not going to work like that. We're just going to have it like that and be able to press our buttons to do our functions. And depending on the software that you're using, you might have the options to configure each button press. So it will say, if you want to do this, press your button configuration now, and all you would do is cycle through and be able to do a copy, a paste, a delete, a redo, undo, all that kind of stuff on your buttons. So that is it. That is it in a nutshell anyways. It took me a while to finally get to it, but I really think it's a cool little project that basically anyone could do. You could do big arcade buttons, you could do all sorts of things, but just to be able to make something quick and easy and be able to help you with your productivity is pretty nice. So these are a little clicky, but that's fine. That way I know I'm actually pressing them. So the only thing this wouldn't be really good for would be for live streaming, because you're always going to hear a little bit of a click in the background. So that's when I would find some softer keys that we could use. The Cherry MX keys or something anyways that would not produce such a loud click. Anyways, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to see if I have a cable here. Got my micro USB cable here, so I'm just going to plug that in here. And then all I'm going to do is plug it into my main computer. I should have it in DFU mode already. I shouldn't have to do anything. And I will see what happens here. Okay. So we're going to use OBS, our Streamlabs here. And we're just going to go to hotkeys here. So start streaming. Let's see if we can press a button. No, so I might not have it in DFU mode. So let's try that. Let's go to Device Manager. So what I think we're going to do here is uninstall that device. see what happens here. Okay, so I think I have to delete the driver software for it. Maybe now, once I go View, Actions, Scan for hardware changes, maybe it'll come up as a keyboard. Let's find out. There we go. So as you can see, I just had to uninstall the, basically uninstall the device once it's programmed. That being said, I did program it on the Raspberry Pi. This is how you set it up on a Windows PC. So I could do start streaming, stop streaming, start. I could have it so that all those are set in my buttons here. So hotkeys, I could go to, let's go our desktop view. We're going to go like that, and workbench flipped. Okay, so now we have our desktop here, as you can see. Now I'm gonna just, let's go back to our settings here and go to our hotkeys. Let's delete those guys. Okay. So let's go there. Okay, let's try this. And then we want desktop. And I'm going to do that one. And then we can have it, yeah, basically go through and set all our things here. I'm just going to go done here. And hopefully, oh, what's going on? If I go from here, okay, let's go back to our hotkeys here. Let's go to front view only. Let's do that one for front view only. Oh, or should I? Let's go to switch to scene. Workbench flipped. Switch to scene. And then desktop. We're going to go here. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm not sure. Okay. For some reason, I ended up changing the Okay, so now we got it figured out somewhat here. So now I could switch from here to my desktop, which for some reason it went to mute it, or to not view it. Let's try going back one. So there we go, we came back here now. So it's starting to work here. I definitely probably have a lot to figure out when it comes to actually getting this going 100%. The fact that I got it going this much definitely is nice. I definitely have a lot of room to improve on it. So with that being said, I think this is a good starting point for this project. This video is way too long, but I want to show you guys kind of how this project started and how it ended up to this point here. And now it's just going to be coming down to building a custom case for it and being able to play around with it more. I'm going to get it set up so that way I can use it with my editing software, as well as being able to live stream and just be able to click a button. I'm sure that the button clicks will get annoying, but you know what? It is what it is. The price was right. It didn't cost me a lot to make this, and I've purchased enough stuff that I would be able to put 5 of these boards together. And with that being said, the only thing I'd have to do is get more Maker Zeros. It works with Streamlabs OBS, no problem here. I'm able to switch from each thing, no problem, which definitely is nice. So having a mute button, stuff like that available on a small keypad like this is great. The next thing I'd probably want to do is come up with like a wireless one, right? So that way if I'm filming at my one desk here, but yet I want to move over to my other bench, I would just be able to bring the unit here and be able to connect it via Wi-Fi or antenna base. I'm not too sure yet. I haven't gotten that far. Working the bugs out of this one before I do a revision would be what I would want to do, and then take all the things I found wrong with this and making it better. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Take care, eh?